Alright, welcome back. So today we're dealing with the Mojave because this one has to go. So we're going to talk about that. When I tried to power it up in the last video, the radio wasn't working with it. It wasn't bound to it. And what I had done was, when the Big Rock 6S was having an issue, I pulled the receiver out of this with the radio, stuck it in the Big Rock temporarily while I took those electronics out and sent them back to arrma for testing. Even though I knew the radio had nothing to do with it, they wanted the radio, the receiver, and the ESC. Turned out it was an ESC issue. When that stuff came back, I put the stuff back into here, and in doing that, I unbound the radio somehow. So I think what it was we took the receiver and we bound it to the Spectrum DX5C rugged while we were testing the Big Rock, and then I never bound, just to eliminate the radio, and I never bound it back up. So when I went to take the Big Rock out, I realized that the Big Rock was bound to the DX5C rugged, so I tried to bind it to a factory radio and was having all kinds of issues with it. And so this one, I figure I'm going to have the same thing. So we're going to go ahead and pop this cover off with arrma's, you know, with this 4S line. One of the things you have to do is unbolt like the ESC and because the radio or the receiver is underneath it. Yeah, see, that's what I thought. So we can just flip this stuff out of the way. And the SR315. So the first thing I'm going to do with this, now it should bind to any radio. So what I like to do is reset the radios back to factory. And the way you do that, turn the wheel to the left, apply full brake, and then power it up. You'll see some flashes. It'll go away, let it go. Now it's reset to factory settings. So that's the first thing I like to do. And now this should be a simple task, because all you should have to do is get power to the receiver. Now when you watch arrma's thing on this, because they have the whole help thing, they just say you power it up and you hit the button 3 times. 1, 2, and it's already flashing. And then turn on the radio and it should bind up, and it never does. So same problem I had with the Big Rock. I don't know why this fan's making all kinds of noise. There we go. So I don't know why. The other thing they said is that they did it on battery. So this is the fan. They used a battery. This is the ESC, and this is the steering. Now there is a battery port, so if you put your receiver into the battery port, it should just apply power to it. 1, 2, see, it's only 2. I'm going to let it beep and do all the stuff. So 1, 2, 3. It never works. They say that's how you do it, and it never works. So make sure the radio is off, because when you power it up, it's supposed to bind. Remember, this is in the battery port, so it should be supplying battery to the receiver and not doing anything. That's why I unplugged all the other wires. 1, 2, 3. Power it up, move it away, and the light never goes solid. So I don't know what they're talking about. There's no bind button on these radios, and they just never bind to the factory radio. Because literally that should bind up. And this is the problem I've always had with trying to bind to the SLT3 controllers. We're going to go ahead and turn this back off. Now, they did it with a battery, which voltage is voltage. As long as there's power going to the receiver, it shouldn't matter. 1 minute.
Welcome back from the Tech Desk by R6 for Serialized Hobby. I'm your host, Brad Brooker. In today's video, show how to bind your SLT3 transmitter
SLT3
to your SR315 receiver.
SR315.
We'll start by powering up the receiver. Once the receiver has power,
he's using a battery
with the spectrum waterfall on it 3 times, roughly 1.5 seconds from each other. So 1, 2, 3. You'll notice the orange light starts flashing, and you know it's in bind mode. Next, you'll grab your transmitter. Once you power on your transmitter, it will go in bind mode as well. So go and power it on. Once your transmitter is mounted to the receiver, you'll notice the light goes from flashing orange to a solid orange.
And that never happens.
There you go. That's how you bind your SLT3 transmitter.
So we'll try it again. So this is to the battery. There's no other plugs on the receiver. Took the steering, everything out. ESC, all it's doing is supplying the BEC voltage to it. That's all we're doing. You can use a battery. I just don't have a battery with this plug on it handy. So we'll power it up. And it shouldn't matter. 1, 2, 3. See? And it doesn't flash. If I hold it, it flashes. So that's what I don't, that's another thing I don't understand, is why that doesn't work. 1.5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, and it doesn't do anything. The only way it does anything is if I hold it down. Then it's flashing like any other spectrum. Power it up, and it doesn't do anything. So I don't have a battery for this thing. And he doesn't even say what size battery do you need. A 6 volt, 12 volt? I mean, it shouldn't be more than 6 volts. And as you see in the photo, he has the battery upside down, so you don't know what the voltage is of the battery. And he's just taking the wire and plugging it in. And that's because he doesn't have it hooked to a, he's trying to do it on the bench. So regardless, if you just put power to it, it should bind. So now that's in the throttle area, which gives it power as well. Turn off the radio. See, 3 clicks of it does absolutely nothing. The only thing that does something is if you hold it down like any other receiver. So I don't know what they are talking about. I think that's the problem with everybody having with these stupid radios. Thinking I can reset it, you know? Nothing. And I can't ship it out this way because somebody owns this thing now and it won't bind. So what I'm gonna have to do is call Horizon, which you can't call, to bind this thing to a factory radio. So what do you do? It shouldn't, and that's why I like Traxxas. Traxxas, you can put 20 models in it and it doesn't matter. I know that this is the radio for this RC, but because I bound this thing to a DX5C, the receiver doesn't want to bind back, which, same thing with my Big Rock. The radio for the Big Rock having the same issue. So, I'm not sure, but I'm going to do some research and see what I can come up with. Alright, well, I got it bound up. The way Horizon or whoever that was telling you 1.5 seconds pressing the button is not correct. It's 3 rapid presses, because when you hold it, that only works for, say, when your radio has the bind button on it. Kind of like the DX5C, you can go to your binding and hit bind. This one, it's really rapid presses. So 3 rapid presses, and then the light blinks differently than the other way. So, and I did use the receiver. I tried pulling out the signal wire, thinking the signal wire was getting in the way. So I'm just using it for the battery, which I don't think that really mattered. So I'm going to put everything back, and now everything should work. So this is steering. So now everything should work. Why is this thing acting? I'm gonna have to take this fan off. Whoa, that took off. Let's put everything up so it doesn't do that again. I think the so the steering is backwards. There we go. 100%. Throttle's correct. Alright. So now I'm going to put everything back together. So just remember, it's 3 rapid presses. It's not that 1.5 seconds that he was saying in the video, because if you count 1, that would be 1 and then let go. It literally doesn't work that way. It's just 3 rapid presses as fast as you can, and then you'll notice it'll start blinking, like 3 blinks, pause, 3 blink, pause. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing put all back together. In the box, I'm gonna hold them down. Where'd the lid go? Oh, that slipped now. There it is. These wires. longer screws. I'm going to screw that down before the box lid moves. And then we'll check it again. Alright, it is working now. So it's that 1.5 seconds that Horizon Tech, or whatever that tech thing is, really threw me off. Because time-based does not work. And this stuff has to go through here. Give them a jumper. So this one is going to be ready to ship out now. So all three of them are going to end up in Hawaii. So it'll be the first time I'm shipping to Hawaii. And should be pretty cool. The guy bought the Losi 2.0, and he bought both 4S, the Outcast 4S and the Mojave 4S, and they're all going to Hawaii, which is going to be pretty cool. So now that this is ready to go, I should mark the controllers. Shock tuning is awesome on this one. So I'm going to see about putting tape on the bottom of this and going from there. Well, they're each going to come in their own box, so it shouldn't be a big deal. You should be able to identify which radio works for what. Plus the Losi 2.0 won't come with a radio because that needs to be bound to a DX5C or a DX5C rugged. So there we go. But hopefully that's helpful. So 3 rapid presses of that button, and then that'll put it in bind mode for the SLT3, or you can just hold the button down and power it up. It'll flash rapidly, and then you can bind it to a DX5C. So there we go. I am going to get my big rock bound up the same way and get it off my DX5C rugged and get it back on the factory radio. But there we go. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.